Question 13 says a paint can in the shape, that's just written backwards, is in the shape of a cylinder with a diameter of 7 inches. The remaining paint in the can is 4 inches deep. So we see the drawing right here of what's going on. 7 inches across in diameter, and the height of the remaining paint is 4 inches tall. So we don't know how tall the original cylinder was, but we don't need to know that, because the question says to the nearest tenth, how many quarts of paint are remaining in the can? Now notice this, our units here, the way we're measuring how long this is, we're not measuring it in feet or miles or anything like that, or centimeters, we're measuring this in inches. So 7 inches across, 4 inches deep, that's how much paint we have in this can. But it's asking us how many quarts of paint are remaining. So we're going to have to figure out the volume, all right, since this is talking about something in three-dimensional space here, the volume that a space is taking up, the amount of space the paint is taking up. We need to find this in cubic inches because that's the way the can is presented to us, in inches. But then once we find that volume in inches, we're going to convert it to quarts. Okay, we'll just divide whatever our volume is by this number, and that'll tell us how many quarts of paint are in the can. So let's go ahead and jump into this problem. I've got a little rough sketch of it done over here. Anytime you have a problem like this, chances are you may want to make a sketch. If it's something on the test, just use your scratch paper, make a sketch of it, something you can work with, just so you can get an idea of what's actually happening in this problem. So we know that we are trying to find the volume of the paint that's left in here. Again, we don't know the size of the whole cylinder, but I know that if the cylinder, the original can, is 7 inches across, the paint isn't going to just fill up part of that, and there's no way that it's going to, in other words, it's not going to be just 6 inches of paint across. It's going to fill up as much space as it can, and then just once it runs out of room, it just starts stacking on top of itself. So this is going to have the exact same diameter of 7 inches across. So basically, I'm looking at this mini cylinder here of just where the paint is. Now, to find the volume of a cylinder, remember how this works. If you can figure out how much space the area of the base of your cylinder is, and you just multiply that times how tall the cylinder is, so the area of the base times the height, that is the volume of that shape of that cylinder. Okay, because we're just extending this. Imagine if you're looking directly down on top of this, all you would see is a circle, right? So if you know what the area of that circle is on the bottom or on the top, it's going to be the same circle, then just multiply that by the height, and that's the volume. So how do we find the area of a circle? Area of a circle equals pi times the radius squared. Now remember, 7 inches was the diameter. All right? So if I want to talk about the radius is always half as big. So we would do 7 divided by 2, which is 3.5. So that means if I want to know the area of this circle, I do pi times the radius, which is 3.5, and then I square that. So pi times 3.5 squared. Now if you multiply that out, you can use your calculator. You would just type in, so let me get back to the main screen here. You would just type in 3.5 squared, which is 12.25, and then I'm going to multiply that times pi. Now remember, don't just round it off to 3.14, actually use the pi button. It's right here, it's the exponent button. You just have to hit the second button first. So second, and then that exponent button. So 3.5 squared times pi gives us 38.48. I'll leave that at like 2 decimal places for a moment. So 38.48. So that's the area of the circle. Now we just need to multiply that times the height. Okay? So the volume is going to equal the area of the base that we just found times the height. Okay, now I just wrote A here for the area. Over in the picture I used the letter B for the area of the base, but I'm talking about the same thing. So the area was 38.48 square inches. Anytime you're doing a unit squared, it's inches squared, times the height, which is 4 inches. And if we multiply those out, 38.48 times 4 for the height, we get 153.92. So let's switch back over. 153.92. I think that was the correct one. Yeah. All right, so 153.92 is the volume in cubic inches. All right. Everything we measured was in inches. We measured the diameter, the radius, the height, everything was in inches. So when we're talking about three-dimensional space, like volume, then it's always cubic inches or inches cubed. If it was area, like we did up here, that is always inches squared. We talk about square units for area. So if the volume is this many cubic inches and every 57.75 cubic inches is equal to a quart, and that means my volume in quarts using those units would be to take how many inches we have and realize, okay, if I divide that by 57.75, that's going to tell me how many quarts I have. So we do 153.92 divided by 57.75, and we look at our answer, and it asked us originally in the problem to round to the nearest tenth. So this is 2.665. That's going to round up to 2.7 quarts. So our correct answer is going to be B, 2.7 quarts. If you have any questions, again, go back. You can rewind the video, pause it at certain places, think about it for a minute. Or if you have questions, you're free to ask me in class or leave a comment on the video. So hopefully that helps, and then you can try the next problem.